This is Ted Hicks from Late Night Parents. Ways to follow the show, latenightparents.com. We're just going to give you a few cyber tips because there's been a lot going on the internet with cybersecurity, with various reports that have been sent out from the FBI on sale of personally identifiable information uh, to dark criminals in various marketplaces and on publicly accessible internet forums. So here's some tips of what to do to ensure that you're making some of the right choices before you go out and expose your computer and personal information out there. So we got to make sure we keep all operating systems and software up to date. So that means timely patching is one of the most efficient and cost-effective steps an organization or a person can make to minimize its exposure to cybersecurity threats. So regularly check for software updates and end-of-life notifications and prioritize patching known exploited vulnerabilities. So when you see those software patches come up on your computers, whether Windows or Mac users, uh, don't click out of it, opt into it. But the most important thing is to automate the software security scanning and testing when possible. So if you have any type of tools that you can run on your local computers or networks, just ensure that you set it up, even if you set it up during off hours, because I know with everyone moving to that work from home environment and some, still working in the hybrid mode, you choose to opt out of letting the software scan your local computer. Implementing user training programs and phishing exercises to raise awareness about risk of visiting suspicious websites, clicking on suspicious links, and opening suspicious attachments. If you don't know who is the link or the email or the text message is from, best option is not to click on it. The most important thing is using strong and unique passwords for all accounts with password logins. Establish lockout rules for incorrect password attempts. Avoid password reuse across multiple accounts or stored on systems, because when you think about it, if you're using one generic password for all your accounts, it just takes that hacker that one opportunity, they have your world. Requiring multi-factor authentication, preferably using phishing-resistant authenticators for as many services as possible. You need that second form of authentication, whether you download the authenticator, Google Authenticator, some type of tool that's going to reference after you enter in your passwords. And these are critical for systems like webmail, your virtual private networking, and privileged accounts that might manage your local backups. Because nowadays we have a lot of tools out there that might back up your local computer at home. So we want to make sure we spread the passwords out. We don't replicate them across the board. Reduce credential exposure and enforce credential protection by restricting where accounts and credentials can be used and by using local device credential protection features. So that's a word salad right there. But if there's opportunities where you can use a 4 or 6-digit PIN to access a system, great. If there's a system instance where you can use your password, that's also good. Once again, let's not replicate that. Something that's pretty hard is segmenting your network to help prevent authorized access by malicious actors or spread of malware. I'm thinking from a local perspective where if you have your a security system at your home and you have the Wi-Fi network, you might want to segment your security versus where the kids or you or your spouse have access to watching your Netflix or to gaming or just overall computer use. Identify and detect and investigate abnormal activity on the network using monitoring tools and logging all report of all traffic, including lateral movement on the network. So, with most of your providers at home, you'll have, let's just say, we'll use Verizon Files, where most of these ISPs will give you like a console where you log into and you can see where the traffic is going. Where is most of your internet traffic being used? And that it'll give you the opportunity to manipulate how sensitive you want to set access or not. But most of these tools are specifically available. Secure and monitor remote desktop protocol use. So if you're in the business world, a lot of times if you have data on your specific computer at home or at a remote location, you might need to remotely connect to it. You're going to have a little bit of skill, but Google Chrome browser has made an easy way for people to remote into their machines. So you just want to be mindful of it, that these type of features, you never ever leave. Like if you go to any specific website and you try to pull up you know default passwords, you always want to change these default passwords. So like if you're entering in your password and your password is admin, you definitely want to change that. Limiting access of resources over internal networks, especially by restricting remote desktop protocol and using virtual desktop infrastructure. Well, most people at home might not be using virtual desktop. Small, medium businesses might be using a virtual desktop. That's a tricky topic to get into because for the small, for the home users, they're just going to have a copy of Windows. They're not going to have a service that's going to be available um, for people to remote into. But those services are available. So it should just be noted that. Let's see. We got a couple more here. Ensure devices are properly configured and that security features are enabled. So disable ports and protocols that are not being used for business purpose. So um, reviewing security posture of third-party vendors and those interconnected with your organization. And that's how most of these hacks actually happen, is through the third-party vendor. So like your primary vendor security protocols and procedures might be following some type of standard operating procedure, but they have a third party partner that's it's playing it fast and loose. So you want to make sure if you're a small, medium business, you are speaking with your third party vendors about their security procedures and ask them to provide you some type of documentation. Implementing list policies for applications and remote access. Another one for your IT department to allow, specific policies and what's permitted, what's not permitted. Lastly is documenting external remote connections. And this is really big for organizations. For the local user at the home, you're going to know what you have access to or what you're remotely connecting into. Whether if you set up a server or if you're, for your music or for your files, chances are you're doing that through a third party provider. Um, some of the stuff might have been a tad bit too technical, but for the most part, I hope you were able to grasp onto it. And that's your tech tip. All right. It's Ted Hicks, Late Night Parents.